It seems like 2 years ago, the Bears went 12-4, had the best defense in the league by far, and Mitch Trubisky was a game manager, didn't have to do a whole lot on the back of their elite defense, and they ended up going to the playoffs and losing to the Eagles on the double doink. But since then, they lost defensive coordinator Vic Fangio, and I don't think it would have mattered because even though Fangio won Coach of the Year, and I've heard from multiple Bears fans that Vic Fangio was the real head coach of that great 2018 team. I just do not know what coach could have made it work with this offense. So at this point, we have to ask ourselves: is it on Trubisky or is it on the organization? Here's how it went in Chicago's case: the team president, who was bad at his job, hired Ryan Pace, who's the GM, who was bad at his job, and who hired coach Matt Nagy, who was bad at his job, and that's the way. And is Trubisky good? Like at this point, the answer is obviously a big fat no. I remember coming into the 2019 season, he was the single most bet on player to win MVP. He was seen as the dark horse that people fall in love with every year. But then week one, Sunday Night Football 2019, they have a chance to stick it to their division rival who's had their number for I can't remember how long. They just went 12-4 the year before. Everyone thinks Aaron Rodgers is washed. First game with Matt LaFleur as the head coach, and Mitch Trubisky has the worst game I have ever seen from a quarterback. No exaggeration. I remember watching that game in Hawaii with about 10 to 15 other people, and I was just in absolute awe at how bad Mitch Trubisky looked, considering before that he wasn't seen as like a great quarterback, but a lot of people were expecting him to take that next step forward. I didn't think it'd be so possible for a system to be so complex, yet the play calls to be so bad. Like, I don't know what it is about Cordell Patterson, but Matt Nagy just absolutely loves feeding him like a 3 yard carry every single game. And the weird thing is that Nagy refuses to play to Trubisky's strengths, like for the few that there are. Mitch Trubisky played better under John Fox's ultra conservative scheme when he was a rookie, as opposed to this Kansas City like scheme. And even then, it's not even a Kansas City like scheme. And for everyone saying, "Oh, the Bears should have just taken Mahomes or Watson instead," like one, no, the hell they should not have. Because do you really believe that the Bears, with how incompetent they've been at coaching Trubisky, wouldn't have ruined either of those guys? The only Bears talent on offense is Allen Robinson, who just like tweets on Twitter this past offseason saying that he just needs to get out of Chicago. And Darnell Mooney, who I don't know if you guys remember him just absolutely cooking Jalen Ramsey on that route, but he did. And I can't wait to see what happens when Darnell Mooney gets an actually good quarterback as well. David Montgomery is probably the least athletic starting running back in the whole league, besides Devin Singletary. And here's the deal: they started 5-1 this year, but literally everybody with a brain knew that this 5-1 Bears team was not even good. Like, yeah, sure, they beat the Buccaneers, but the Buccaneers are the hardest team to gauge right now. So we're going to check this out for a little bit. So week one, they beat Detroit off of a DeAndre Swift game-winning touchdown pass that was dropped. Week two, they beat the Giants, whose only talent on offense towards ACL that game. Week three, they played Atlanta. Now, we usually know what happens when you play Atlanta. Then week four, they got dragged down to reality by the Colts. They beat Tampa Bay, they beat Carolina, and then they lose to the Rams, New Orleans, Tennessee, Minnesota, and Green Bay. So teams that are genuinely competent. I mean, and most of those were actually good. So they pretty much just got by beating up on trash cans. And now that they're playing actual good teams, they're starting to get exposed. So they've got Detroit this week. Then after that, they've got Houston, Minnesota, Jacksonville, and Green Bay. The only game I can really say that they've locked up 100% is Jacksonville. But I don't know. It could be one of those late in the season games where they just allow 250 rushing yards to James Robinson or something. Bears offensive ranks: points per game, 19.6, which is 29th in the league. Yards per game, 325.1, which is 30th in the league. Pass yards per game, 242.9, which is 20th in the league. And to be completely honest, I thought that number would be way lower. Rush yards per game, 82.2. Your defense can only do so much when your offense fucks up over and over and over again. But when we were watching Sunday night, does anyone think that putting Danny Trevathan on Davante Adams was just not a smart idea? If you're asking me which team I'd rather play for right now, yeah, as far as the Bears or Lions, this is really sad to say, considering the Lions are basically the Browns of the NFC without all the quarterback and head coach revolving doors. But I'd rather play for the Lions because at least they have a new direction. At least they just fired Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn, the two guys that basically were running them into the ground to begin with. Plus, DeAndre Swift, TJ Hawkinson, Kenny Galladay, they've got some solid pieces. And not to mention, Matthew Stafford might, or I'm not going to call him underrated because he's become so underrated that he's properly rated. But yeah, I would much rather play for the Lions instead of the Bears, and that is incredibly sad to say. Shout out to that Iowa guy in the background behind me. So after the loss they had on Sunday Night Football, Matt Nagy came out and called out some of the Bears coaches and players and said, have some personal pride. But how are you going to expect them to have personal pride when your game plan sucks, your play calling sucks, you're getting absolutely dominated by any team with a heartbeat? And please do not tell me that the Bears had 25 points Sunday night, because yes, they had 25 points, but it was all in garbage time. After the Packers took the lead, everybody knew that the game was over. And here's the thing about A-Rob, like, he is a wonderful talent. He made Blake Bortles look good in Jacksonville, but him and his contract situation have definitely been a distraction to the Bears. His sensitivity on Twitter is weird as hell for a millionaire athlete, liking tweets saying you need to get out of Chicago after your team loses. Don't get me wrong, like, he's a great person and his charity has had a positive impact, and off the field he's a pretty good dude. Yeah, it is just more than obvious that he is now going to stay in Chicago. Also, I love Allen Robinson with that jersey in the background. If he goes to the Packers or Saints, I will be thrilled. If he goes to the Jets or Giants, I'm going to cry. But yeah, liking tweets about your division rival signing you, that's a Kevin Durant move. Since I've started watching football, I think I can count on one hand the amount of times I remember the Bears beating the Packers. And I don't know how we can fix this mess. Like, you can fire everybody, but history tells us that in 2 to 3 years, it's going to be more of the exact same thing. Do we just tank and draft a new quarterback every year and fire a head coach every year? Or is that what the Browns do? Actually, the Browns are 8-3 right now, and I think a lot of other teams would kill to be in that position. And I'm not calling the Bears the new Browns or anything, because I don't know if you guys know, but Chubb and Hunt are a little bit better than Montgomery and Cohen. Or in Matt Nagy's case, since he loves doing this so much, Cordero Patterson. The only thing I can say is thank God we do not have to watch the Bears in primetime anymore. We had to watch them Sunday night against the Packers just get absolutely dominated. We had to watch Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen destroy them on Monday Night Football. We had to watch the Rams defense just tee off on Nick Foles. And yeah, they beat Tampa Bay, but that game has proven to be a fluke. And I guess the problem with coming out and saying fire everyone in the case of the Bears, or not just the Bears, like football and sports as a whole, is you run the risk of replacing him with someone equally as bad. As far as new GM, new quarterback, new head coach, whatever, I don't trust that the Bears will do the right thing because history has shown us time and time again that they don't. Eddie Jackson, ever since Vic Fangio had left the Bears, has just basically fallen off a cliff. I know Sunday night that the Bears were without two of the best run defending D linemen in the league, but with guys like Khalil Mack, shouldn't they be able to produce without the help around him? And I know that Khalil Mack can produce without the help around him because I've seen him play against my team and get 5 sacks. He did not need help around him to produce in Oakland. And all the Chicago media, and I know this because my dad's from Chicago, he's not a Bears fan or anything, but I know that from a lot of my dad's friends, they're Bears fans, they say all we need to do is score over 20 points and we are going to win. Now, they scored 25 against the Packers and still lost by 16. And let's be honest, the score does not do justice to how bad of a blowout that game was. And normally, the Bears defense is a good enough unit to the point where you wouldn't see them give up 34 points. Or, yeah, because one of those was a turnover. But yeah, 34 points. But apparently without Akeem Hicks, they're just flat out garbage. And they had 2 weeks to prepare for Aaron Rodgers. And they literally had zero awareness or any sort of plan to shut him down. I know he's not the easiest guy in the league to shut down, but there have been multiple teams that have shut him down and have put on tape multiple times how to stop Aaron Rodgers from breaking the game like we all know he can. The Bears, I don't know if they're going to move on from Nagy or Pace. They definitely should. They're definitely going to move on from Trubisky as well, and I don't know who's going to come in, but you got to make sure they're the right person because the Bears are on track to, if not for their defense, they would be on track to becoming the new Browns. terrible head coach after terrible head coach, terrible GM after terrible GM, and just not being able to find the solution at quarterback. I pray for A-Rob's sake that he is able to get out of Chicago. Darnell Mooney stuck in the shack for however long. Alright guys, that is going to do it for the video. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you are not already. Follow me on Twitter, link is in the description below. Let me know what you think about the Bears. You think they're the best team in the city of Chicago? You think they're the best team in the division? Still going to win? Matt Nagy's the best coach of all time? Or you think everything I said was right? Anyways, guys, have a good day and peace out.